file structure today, how we do the container files, how we do the site files, how we do the buildings, and then the units themselves. Right. Tiffany's here. So this is really like our way of doing this. It's not about like how we really want to talk about file usage, but this is really about how we organize things so that way we can make them printable and usable for future use. So the main goal here is to understand how the units connect to our buildings, how our buildings connect to our site, and then how the site has all the things in it from those things, and then what a container file is. So jumping into a review, we're going to talk about like linking Revit files. This is also applicable to linking CAD files. We're doing some visibility and graphic overrides to be able to control how we see and view things. And then there's the idea of work sets that we utilize in this. And so with like linking, the main reason we use linking versus importing is this whole list of things where it's like it keeps our files small, they're reloadable, they automatically update, and then we can undo it and then like change things out without it being like an issue. So there's nothing that's like adding itself to the model or adding lines to like CAD and then you have to like clean it up. It keeps it really clean and fresh. So we're starting from the top down of like where everything is. So everything is in the site model. We have our units, which are put on a work set to say that we want to turn them off and on at certain times to be able to just say, hey, I can view my units or I can turn them off for certain reasons that are for the project. They have our topography, they have our site elements like parking, they have trees, and they also have the building models themselves and typical details that we would have. So this is the like the deluxe edition of it has all the bells and whistles to it. Everything's in here, and because of that, it takes a really long time to load. And so one thing that I wanted to point out when we open a site file is we can come to the three dots at the end of the line item for the site and then click it and then it'll say you can open with work sets and specify them. And so then you can open it and close all the work sets and it allows you to open the file really fast and then turn things on as you want to see them. And so when we're using a site file where we have like 15 buildings and there's like 20 units, that site file takes a really long time to load. But
Greg,
somebody
can you touch really quickly on what work sets are for people that don't know what a work set is?
Yeah. So a work set is the best way to compare a work set is it is like a layer in AutoCAD. It is something we can turn on and off, and it's independent. So we can put all of our buildings on a work set. We can put all of our structural items on a work set to say like, hey, if I want to just see my units, I can just turn on a view and then say, I just want to see that work set. And then it's a different way than the visibility and graphics overrides where you can control walls and floors and all the other things that are more like the pieces of the building. But work sets allow you to control like whole links and whole items together. So
So what you're basically saying is, if you specify those work sets or layers and you turn them off on the site file, it means you can open the site file without opening the
having to load those things.
entire neighborhood of Everly, right? You can just open up the building that you want to look at.
Exactly, exactly. And so this is great for like structural. We'd put structural on a work set because we don't need to see structural all the time unless we want to see it. So those are things to consider. The contents of the site model are important because these are where we have our title sheet. We'll have our project matrix here if it's like the entire project. We'll have our interior A400 sheet in here, including all of those legends and schedules that they use. The project schedule for doors and windows for the A600, all your typical details that we use across the project. These are like to be consolidated into one file, and then we reference them in the other buildings. But then we also have our Revit and CAD links that are our civil file, our buildings, our units, all of our structural files, our mechanical and plumbing, and then our electrical. And this allows us to have our schedule, our sheet index be all consolidated from all these files without us having to populate them ourselves. So it eliminates the need for error in that sense of how the sheet index works. And so now we jump into buildings. And so buildings are, in essence, just the building. It doesn't have any site context to it. You can load the site into the building model, but then you're really trying to keep the building is just the contract document of the building. So these are the things that have walls, floors, vertical circulation, and these common areas like the mail room, the circulation spaces that we use for storage and stuff like that. Those are natively built into this model. Our units are linked in here, and then we can link our site in just so that we can understand the extent of slabs, where the pathway lines up with the door, just so that way we can understand, is the building oriented properly to the site. But no, like, unit modeling is actually happening in this model. So, and again, you can print from this file. Ideally, we are setting up all these to where if you need to just print the building, you can go into that building and it has all these contents in it as well. So you have your title sheet for the building, you have your project matrix for that building. We have our life safety plans in our code study, our architectural sheets, including all of our drawings and our custom details, and then our details from the site file are used to link to here. So we use them as like a 2D element that we bring in that then references to the site file. We'll get into that at a later date, but we can make sure that the drawings that we're using as typicals are actually referencing the site, but the detail is being referenced in the building. And then within this, for links, we have our unit files and our site file. So, and one of the things too is you can add sketches here. So we can add PDFs or JPEGs of hand sketches, and then we can draft on top of those, just like you can in CAD. And so that's a level of, what can we add in here that we use to start a project or to work through something. So units, the best part of working here is these are the fully independent file that we want to be able to reuse in every building that we ever design. So if we get a plan or a building that needs to have a 1B unit, that 1B file is independent and agnostic from other buildings. So we can link in the building file, and then we have where our exterior corridor door is, where our porch door is, if we have a porch, where our windows would be. And so we're eliminating the need to coordinate those things between unit and building. So it's just when we start to design those things, how those link together allows us to be able to see those things without having to do twice the amount of work. So, and again, you can print from this file. So the typical unit contents, we have our plan, our RCP, our enlarged plans, and our interior elevations. Interiors does a great job, like kind of staying in the unit models, which is why it's important that we link our buildings in so that they know that they're coordinating with actual like architectural building elements. It's important that interiors make sure that they understand that the schedules that they use, whether it's interior finishes or casework, but also doors, that they are coordinating that data to make sure that it's aligning with the architectural models. Because ideally, we're trying to stay out of your hair, and if we have to coordinate doors, then we're coming into your models and then like touching stuff that you might be adjusting. And then tear sheets, these are trying to alleviate the need for Jordan to have to render the tear sheets. If we can already have this unit laid out, we can create a presentation 8.5 by 11. It's a rendered floor plan that meets our graphic standards, and then you can just print that tear sheet from this file or in other files, and we'll talk about that. So, and then within the Revit link tab, we have the whole like building model that's linked in for coordination purposes, just so that we can understand demising walls and exterior walls, and then windows and doors. And so this was a file that, or a graphic that Elliot had made, where we're kind of talking about like where we've come from and how difficult it is to manage a CAD project that's to the scale of like a River Lights, or a Leo project, that we have the ability to go from like a whole bunch of hundreds of files to, hey, we have like 20 units or less than that, to a handful of buildings, to one site file, and then we print from that one site file. And so if we manage it correctly, it's a whole lot less like trouble to manage all these files if we can understand how it's structured. So Carleone has brought up this whole idea of a container file, which is a great idea, of that this is it's a non-printable file that we use to coordinate across all these buildings. And really it's because we want to control that the windows that we use from one building are the same buildings that we use in the other building. And it's sort of, this is the checkpoint of, hey, I need to make an update, so I'm going to go to the container file to make the update to the project, and then I'm going to push that through into all of it with the transfer project standards. So the ability for us to understand like all of our plumbing fixtures, that they're the exact same, they look the exact same graphically, and then goes from view templates to annotation to view titles and sheet borders. Like a lot of this, like the contents of all the project would be in this container file. So this is something that you'll start seeing in projects as we develop the product library, just to make sure that we're consistently producing the best work, and wanting to make sure it's accurate and uh, checked as we go through it. So does anyone have any questions? This is kind of a quick one talking about file structure, so try not to bore y'all. All right, well, y'all have a great day.
Is everyone kind of grasping the concept? Okay, good.
Yeah,
Well,
there we go. There is no
there
response
it
to
is.
that, but
We got it.
yep. All right,
Lots
guys,
of
we'll have a
claps
great day.
downstairs, so
Yeah,
all good.
see y'all.
Thanks, Herb.
Mm-hmm.